The Kung Fu Panda 4 trailer hints at an exciting new journey for Po. Without giving away spoilers, of course, what can fans expect in terms of characters development and plot in this upcoming sequel?
Well, it's probably why we took so long to make this movie is we wanted to make sure we had the best, most epic movie that allowed Poe to evolve from what he's been in the previous films. And so I think we discovered it. And in this film, Poe got a lot to learn and he levels up once more and he goes on a pretty giant adventure to a brand new place that we've never seen before.
Per city.
Juniper City.
Big city.
Crowded with animals of all shapes and sizes, just crammed in the streets. And we're in the streets of that city with an action-packed adventure. We're on the rooftops of that city, running over the rooftops in chase sequences. And we're also beneath the city where all the criminals and thieves live.
Our den of thieves.
Our den of thieves in the sewer system of the city. So it's a pretty, we've taken the Kung Fu Panda world and we've really expanded it.
With its film, we see technological advances in animation. Were there any specific visual innovations or techniques you wanted to explore in this sequence? And how does that contribute to the viewer's experience?
Yeah, mostly I found that it was huge. And mostly what I found was the camera work that we've seen has evolved so much since these movies have been made, even in live action films with GoPro, the GoPro cameras that are mounted and able to go anywhere. And it's a technique that we've seen a lot that we've never been able to pull into a Kung Fu Panda film. So just with the camera work alone, it was pretty amazing what we could do with this movie that made it like a lot more advanced than the previous ones. And then also just all the special effects. Like we have a villain now that's like supernatural and we see the portal to the spirit realm and we see a bunch of magic, really creepy magic and a lot of transformations. And so that was something that I haven't seen and the technology has really advanced, right?
Yeah, I mean, we, with our renderer and just how rich our movie is, and, with fur and cloth and everything visually that goes into it, we have new rendering. And so everything is just, we are more expansive and we can just get our richer visuals onto the screen now in a much easier way as
I
well.
think it's more fur than we've ever seen in any DreamWorks film previous to this. I think it's more fur than the previous three pandas combined. And that's not easy to do, just so you know. The technology of fur is a pain in the ass and it's all over the place. And it moves and it's fighting and it's doing kung fu. It's like really great.
Rebecca, the Kung Fu Panda has a distinct identity. As a producer, how did you and the team work to preserve this unique identity while so introducing new and exciting elements in Kung Fu Panda 4?
Yeah, I mean, that was the challenge of, why it took so long to, make a 4 is, finding the right story to tell where you're honoring the prior 3 and really living up to the franchise and what it means to people, and still being able to introduce a new world and a new story that people would embrace and feel like it's additive to the franchise and still honors the original. So, it took a lot of teamwork and collaboration and us making sure we found the story that we all agreed was the right story to tell for a part 4. And
it's also kind of a love letter to the first one. Like we all love the first Kung Fu Panda, and it helps that we're bringing back every villain that you've ever seen from the past, and all the characters too. We bring back Shifu.
We've got his dads.
Mr. Ping and Lee, and so a lot of characters return again.
So it was a journey for us to find that story to tell, and it was critical. This movie couldn't move forward until we all agreed like this is the right story to tell.
We went on our own epic kung fu adventure on
really
making this film.
What's the relationship like between you and the original voice cast, especially with return actors like Jack Black? What was it like behind the scenes with this cast?
It was pretty funny, actually. We had a pretty good time because Jack is so invested and passionate about his character. And by the way, he is Poe. It's also his voice. He's such an enthusiastic fanboy and he brings so much to the character, and he brings so much humor that's not even on the page. When he just, all you have to do is have Jack Black pretend that he's meditating, to act like he's meditating, and just already it's funny, and he adds so much to it. And then beyond that, he's also like all of our characters, like Dustin Hoffman and James Hong and Bryan Cranston. They're all very thoughtful. Like you wouldn't think it because it's just a cartoon character and they're funny, but they really get into the character and how the character feels and thinks about things. So
they know and they know their characters. So
they know better than we do.
They know that. And so it was like good conversation. Like they would come in and I felt like there's never just with any of our cast, there was never just reading off the page. They love their characters, they understand their characters, and they want their characters to evolve. So I felt like it was a lot of really like meaningful like conversation that would come out of every recording session because it allowed them to enhance their characters.
And it seemed like that each one of them too from the past was eager to play their part again. Like they were really they wanted to come back to this world and be that character. So that was neat. And then on top of that, we have thousands of new characters. So Awkwafina would like really got into her new character and how she's kind of like the buddy of Poe throughout this adventure, and how to weave her into she's also as funny as Jack. So they're both two funny characters on a journey together. And then her character really weaves into our themes as well. That was neat.
So let's talk about the new characters. And can you talk about, or the more evident presence of previous characters? What were their roles in Kung Fu Panda 4?
Well, Poe, I'm going to do my black and white thing, where Poe is black and white, like a panda, and he sees the world in black and white, meaning there are heroes and there are villains. And now he's come across this gray fox she's a thief. So she's not a hero, but at the same time, she's a really good friend, and she's helping him to fight the villain and have one last big Kung Fu Panda dragon warrior adventure. So he's kind of confused by that. And then she introduces him to, like I said, a whole underground of thieves and criminals. And I don't know if you saw in the trailer, these very cute bunnies, very bad at the same time. They're very bad bunnies, but very cute. And there's a pangolin, and there's just a whole bunch of new characters where Poe needs to team up with them so he could fight the villain.
My last question is, a trademark of the franchise is its ability to mix humor and emotion. As a director, how did you balance these elements in the fourth film, especially considering the main character's evolution throughout the films?
That is a great question, and it all comes to that evolution that Poe has. So we figured the theme that we wanted to do was change. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we, again, in searching for the right story to tell, it was important to have the right theme that people could, understand and relate to, identify with. And when we came across this theme of change, we all immediately felt like that's where we want to go, because change happens to all of us. We all go through change in our lives. And now Poe is being asked to change. And he loves being the dragon warrior. So to now become the spiritual leader, that's a real conflict. And so embracing that theme of change that illustrates it's not a bad thing. Change happens to all of us, and embracing it doesn't mean you're forgetting where you're coming from. It's allowing you to become something more than you already are. So we felt like that was something that everybody could identify with, no matter how old you are. So once we found that I think really kind of gave us our North Star and allowed us to really, have that be the journey.
Yeah. And then we lived that theme as we work on this film. We're like, maybe we can change, and we don't have to be so scary, and we can evolve this film into becoming something even more than it's been in the past.
And it ties back to what Mike's saying about, Poe kind of being in the black and white world and Jen being in a gray world. It's, seeing things through a different lens and embracing the change and seeing that people can change, and that, heroes can be found in the most unlikely of places.
Thank you, guys. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks
Nice
for
meeting you.
your time, and good debut.